everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Padilla. Oh, goodness, so much good stuff happening. Let's make sure we can hear and see. All right, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Hello, Neo Sage. Thank you so much. Um, Sorry for the delay. Was having a little bit of struggle streaming, but come on in and please allow me to introduce myself for anybody new here. Hi, I am Maggie, your substitute teacher. Usually I'm welcoming you to my struggle cooking class, but I'm still traveling for work, so I am not struggle cooking tonight. We are actually doing our Elegance Club, and we're going to continue an etiquette lesson tonight. Um, Sorry for the confusion. Today was supposed to be Wednesdays with Maggie and Aisha. Miss Aisha asked to postpone, so you just got me tonight, but we will be back in the kitchen cooking it up next week with whatever she wants me to make. So I'm very, very excited about that. So, uh, those of you all who have been with me for a while, you know that I have been on my own etiquette and elegance journey for my own personal reasons. I like to be a little bit more refined as a boy mom with no sisters and no daughters. And I work in corporate, I work in technology, which can be masculine and competitive. So for me, I like to really work to refine my softer side. And so that just means I've done a lot of work investing in etiquette classes, elegance classes, and some of you all have expressed an interest in that. It's not for everyone, and I totally understand. So we're going to pick up on a course that I have completed from Jamila Musayeva. I bought her course. I'm in her Patreon, and this one is on dining etiquette, everything you need to know from A to Z. And I always say, I'm not the food police. I'm not clearly not the fashion police. I don't always do the best. However, I do audio.
Okay. So can you let me know? Hey, Lisa. So Smothered Kisses can hear me over here. Let me check over here on YouTube. Can you all let me know how the sound is now? Good or not good? YouTube or Facebook? Much better? Okay, perfect. All right, you all. Sorry, I'm in a hotel and I got the struggle Wi-Fi, but I'm glad that you all can hear. Okay, we were just doing attendance. Hello, Jared Braggs. Thank you so much for being here. We got Jurgen in the house saying it's better. Thank you, kind sir. Thank you, Padilla. Lucasely says it's perfect. Okay, wonderful. Um, Tasha says much better. Delisha giving me the thumbs up. Hello, Big Mac. Thank you for being here. All right, everyone. So hopefully I got everyone counted present. If you would like to be counted present, please feel free to announce yourself. If you would like to watch from the clouds, you are more than welcome. We are always the happy, wholesome, family-friendly side of YouTube. All right, so I am going to share my screen with you all. I did put the link to this course in the chat, and this one is from Jamila Musayeva, who is an etiquette teacher, and she is someone that I have followed more recently. Thank you, Lucasely, for suggesting her. I had a great meeting with her. I've purchased this course. I have in her Patreon, and so I have learned a lot, and that's what I share with you all. We have Kenford in the house coming through with the hand claps. Thank you, sir. Kenford says, hello from New York. I'm not too far from you. I'm in the Philadelphia area for work. All right. Got the daggum cable, y'all. All right. So let me share my screen and I will show you all. We will pick up where we left off. I know it's been a while, but I want to make sure that we get through this. And anybody who's watching on IG, you can come over to Facebook or YouTube. All right. So let us share our screen and let's go over here. And I will play the trailer for you all. So again, Jamila Musayeva is her name. She is an etiquette teacher, one of the ones that I follow. So I'm going to play the intro to this course so you all will be able to see if it's something that you want to invest in, or I'm going to tell you what I have learned as an etiquette student. Hello, Joseph. Thank you for being here. We got Melody in the chat. My first time seeing you. Hello, my dear. She says, hello, Maggie. Thank you so much for being here. All right, so I am going to play the trailer. I think this is just a couple minutes long, and then we'll talk a little bit about it and pick up from where we left off. But in case anybody is new, this tells you all about it. So hopefully you all can hear.
Hello, I'm Jamil Musaiva, an international social etiquette consultant and the author of Etiquette books. I have designed this course entitled Formal Dining Etiquette from A to Z to make it easy, convenient, and accessible for people from all around the world to learn about formal dining etiquette. Upon completing this course, you'll feel much more confident, and I assure you, you'll have no doubt about how to carry yourself at a formal event. Oscar Wilde once said, "A man that can dominate a London dinner table can dominate the world." And I couldn't agree more with that. In today's global international world, this applies to a much broader scale. Whoever can dominate a dinner table anywhere in the world can dominate it. So without further ado, let's get started.
And I'm muted. Sorry, y'all. Jeez. Struggle streaming already. All right, so what I was going to say is I'm going to go back. You all saw the intro. Let me see if I can share my screen here. All right, so it already started on the second module. Oh, let me see. Did I play everything? Let's make sure.
Arriving, exiting the car.
Okay, yes, we did talk about that. So let me just come back here. Oh, that's the next. Oh, one second, y'all. I want to go back to. Okay. I'm going to pause this, but I just want to show you all something.
Hello, I'm Jamil Musaiva,
I'm
an
going to wait for
international
the
social
shot
etiquette
that comes out
consultant
a little bit
and the
farther.
author of
All
Etiquette
right, let me
books.
mute this. All right. So Jamila is from Azerbaijan, which is the Middle Eastern country, and you all can see that she is also the author of these two books. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you. Let me see if I was hoping there was a tighter shot, a better shot. Okay. When I pause it, that's what happens. All right, so we are going to pick up where we left off, but anytime something catches my eye, I want to share it with you all just as far as what I have learned. On my etiquette and elegance journey, there are several things that I've had to work on. Some things come more easily to me, some things have been a struggle. One of the things that I've had to work on is my posture. And if I'm being honest with you, I wasn't too happy with my posture on Pearl's show, but the couches were, very comfortable and, we just kind of like sink in. So we've talked about this in depth, but you'll notice in the intro, can y'all hear me now? Please tell me y'all can hear me. I'm on a delay. Hello, Brandon. I'm struggle streaming over here. Here or no here. Ah, Joseph can hear me. Yeah, I think I muted myself. Okay, y'all can hear. I muted myself during the clip, and I know I have a little bit of a delay. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm struggling tonight. Okay, so the first thing that you notice with Jamila, and I wanted to talk about posture. So again, I'm in a hotel room and I'm just in a chair. Let me take this down. I'm just in a regular like chair. You can see this chair doesn't have any arms in it, but for proper posture when seated, what we should do, because I'm sitting all the way back in the chair, I actually should kind of sit towards the edge of the chair so my back is not in the chair. Feet are flat on the ground, and you all saw me with Pearl. One of the things that I had to work on is my mannerisms and my gestures. I used to be a little bit uncontrolled. So you will see me often kind of put my hands together, and when I clasp them together like this, and it's intentional for a couple of reasons. So, as someone with whale tendencies, you all know I'm a little bit, bigger. When I have my hands out like this, so imagine I'm sitting in a chair that has armrests on it. And we've talked about this before, but I know we have some new people. As a lady, I don't want to sit with my arms out like this because if you notice on my frame, it makes me wider than I want to be. So you all will see me adjust often when I'm seated. I clasp my hands together and I put them in my lap. Now, if you look at my frame, whether you're looking on IG or on Facebook, notice how, hello, AJ, thank you. Notice how it gives me more structure to my lines. So this is one of the things that I've had to work on to be mindful of. That way, when I do use my hands to make a point, I point at something or I use my hands, and then you always kind of see me bring them back together. So that's one thing. The other thing is I'm sitting forward on the chair so that my feet are flat on the ground. And instead of slouching down, which makes us again wider and more sloppy, Lucchese says, yes, you can see the difference. Exactly. So what I do is literally using your core muscles. You want to kind of roll your shoulders back, but sit up straight in the chair so that you're not using the back of the chair. Now, this does take work and practice, but these are some of the things that you can do for free as a lady to improve your presence. Now, as a man, they kind of sprawl out and may cross their legs and kind of take up more space, right? That's a very masculine way of showing up. If you want to be the opposite of that, I usually try to bring it together, keep my legs and knees together, and be more controlled. Also, sitting up, if you sit up towards the edge of the chair, it forces you to use your core muscles to keep your body together. So, that is just one thing that I wanted you all to see. And I noticed, look at Jamila here, and she's a very, I don't know if she's petite as far as height, but you can tell she's a very slight frame woman. I am not slender like this, but you can tell just by, I'm going to play a little bit. Okay, I was hoping it would go away from the legs, but you can see here, looking at this chair. So she is in a chair. that does have arms in it, but notice she is not sprawled out in the chair. So we don't use the armrest, okay? We don't use the armrest to sit down into, and we don't use the armrest to get up out of. We've talked about this in other classes. When you need to get up, what you should do is inch towards the edge of the chair, and then you use your legs only. You're going to put one foot kind of slightly in front of the other, and you just stand and you lower the same way. You don't use your armrest to move yourself up. So there's really a lot of like controlled movements that you can do if you want to appear more elegant and graceful. So even though this is just the intro, I wanted to show you all this. So notice how she's sitting. And then notice how her hands, I've learned to do the same thing. She keeps her hands together in her lap. And I was hoping to get a view where you could see like her knees are together and her legs are crossed at the ankle. But this is what I wanted you all to see. So she's making her introduction to the course. Her posture is great. She's towards the edge of the seat. She's sitting up tall and she's not using the armrest. So yeah, I just wanted, whenever I see these things, and these are all things like I've shared with you all, I have had to learn. So when I tell you I take classes and we have homework assignments, these are the types of things that I've studied. So you can make a lot of improvements if you want to. It's just little things that you notice. It's like, oh, I never knew that. And then you will have a trained eye when you look at people and they're sitting down or they're standing up, what could be a little bit more graceful. All right. So I just wanted to show that to you all. Continue. All right, so when I go to the chapters, and we talked about this last time, so we're going to pick up where we left off. So you all can see my previous video, but we talked about how to elegantly arrive getting in and out of the car. In that first module, we talked about how a lady arrives if there is a gentleman with you, if you are arriving by yourself, if there is a doorman who's helping you, or if not. So there are different ways, ideally swinging your legs to the side and then standing up out of the car, not doing one of these things and like, spreading your legs all open. So that was the first module. We've already covered that. And then the second one was, that was number 1. And then, why does it say number 3? Oh, okay, gotcha. Door etiquette. So we talked about this. Oh, y'all couldn't see. So these are the different modules in the class. Last time in the course, last time we talked about the door etiquette. So there is etiquette around who enters first, who exits first. If you're alone, if you're with a gentleman, or if there's a doorman. So we covered that as well. The next section in the course, taking off your coat. So if you live somewhere, and this one is new to me, I'll be honest with you all, because I live in the Atlanta area, which is usually warm. So we don't really have coats, heavy coats that we wear for long periods of time. But if you do live somewhere where there is colder weather, you're probably used to having a coat with you. So there actually is etiquette for how you would check your coat. The gentleman would do it, or if you're by yourself, all of that. So these are the types of things that I studied. Hello, sweet Serenity. Thank you so much for being here. She says, good evening, Miss Maggie, and a good evening to you. All right. And then the next section, I think we got through 7 sections last night. So I'm just giving you all a recap and then we'll continue. Going up and down the stairs. We covered this last time, and the stream is still up there, so you all can take a look. But there actually is etiquette for how you go up the stairs, what side you're on. Ideally, you don't want to grasp really hard onto the railing, so you want to use your body strength to really move yourself gracefully. This is something that I've had to learn, and I'll be honest with you all, I'm on a health and wellness journey. I'm down 80 pounds with at least 20 more to go if I would stop being so greedy. And it's gotten a lot easier for me to move with grace. But yes, these are the things that you can do, again, that don't cost any money, that you can be more elegant if that's what you want to do. All right, so we talked about going up and down the stairs, the elevator etiquette. We talked about that, coming in and out, and then walking into a restaurant. So I believe that's where we ended off. So we did the 7 modules. Serenity says that's amazing. Oh, thank you, sweetie. So we've done 7 modules. So I figured tonight we'll do another 7 or as many as we can get through. All right. So let me share with you all. We are going to pick up on seating arrangements.
If only two people are dining, the guest will take place that has view. In this case scenario, the best place is the one where you get to see the restaurant, the entire venue. If dining at home, the host takes place opposite to the door, so he or she can see whoever is coming in and out. If this is a formal event with numerous guests, chances are that there will be a name card on your plate or above it to designate your seat. The rule is that the honorary guest occupies the seat to the right of the main host or hostess. If an honorary guest has a +1, then the honorary guest will be seated to the right of the host, and his +1 will be seated to the right of the hostess. Then the third most important guest will be seated to the left of the host, and the fourth important guest will be seated to the left of the hostess, and so forth it goes. This is typical for rectangular tables. If the table, however, is a round one, there is no head or sides, therefore, there is no hierarchical structure. In fact, Jacqueline Kennedy introduced round tables to the White House, replacing the traditional horseshoe shaped ones. This was done deliberately to get rid of the hierarchical structure at the table and make socialization much easier. Generally speaking, couples, siblings, work partners will be seated separately. The only exceptions are the couples that have been married for less than a year, and culturally, in Middle East, it would be inappropriate to separate couples.
Okay, everyone. So I'm going to review what we just watched here. We got Kevin Brooks chiming in. He says, "Good evening, Maggie and crew, driving and listening." All right, everyone. So that was a lot. And again, this is not about doing everything perfect, but it is good to know. And I do also like to explain to you all some of the reasons why these rules exist. All right, so let me mute it here. So when talking about seating arrangements, let me pause here. In this example, she used the host and the guest, and this could be, a couple out for an evening, a lady and a gentleman. It could be a business meeting, right? It could be you as a business owner and maybe an investor that you want to help support you. It could be an interview. We've talked about this, a job interview, the candidate and the employer. There's many different circumstances that you could find yourself in, more of a formal dining arrangement. Okay, so if there's two people, you always want to give the guest or the person of honor the best view. So if it's a lady and a gentleman, if you're coming to a restaurant and there's a seat that has a better view, you would give it to the guest of honor. In this case, it would be the lady. If it were the job interview, it would be the candidate because the employer is hosting. Hello, Lauren. Good to see you here. I'm sharing my screen on Facebook and YouTube if you want to see. Um, or if there's like a family visit or anything like that. So you always want to, in a lot of cultures, especially Asian cultures, there is a hierarchy and it's very strictly followed. So this is just something that's good to know. We got Christopher Williams coming in with the hand claps. Thank you so much, sir. Christopher says he's learning so much. I am so happy to hear that. I am your substitute teacher, and honestly, you all, when I started my channel, I didn't think anybody would care. But, this is just an area that I have nerded out on, and I love it, and so we do these etiquette lessons twice a month. So if you're interested, please subscribe, and I love to share with you all what I've learned. Okay, so that was the seating arrangement for, if there are 2. Okay, so in this example you saw here, there's the wall of the restaurant, and then this is the view. So like she showed you here, I've turned off the sound, but you can see the screenshots, the subtitles. The guest would have the seat of honor, and if you're hosting, you would have the not so best view, okay? And then this one I found very interesting. All right, so if you are hosting at home, and of course, our dining tables have 10 seats, not. So usually, excuse me, the head of the table would be for the host. Okay, and then to the right of the host would be the guest of honor. Hello, Danae. Thank you so much for being here. This is something that I didn't know. Ideally, we would think that, hello, Sheppy. Thank you for being here. Ideally, we would think that if you arrive to an event, let's say it's a holiday party or you're going to your boss's house for dinner or whatever, you would think that if you arrive as a couple, you would be seated as a couple. Actually, that is not the case. And we learned this as hosts. If you are seating people, you try to foster an environment where people can get to know each other. So you wouldn't seat people that already know each other. So don't be surprised if you go to more of a formal event and you will arrive with your significant other and your name cards are separate. You arrive together, of course, you leave together. And I don't know if you all caught that, but the exception is if they are a newlywed couple, because back in the past, we didn't date the way that we date now. So newlyweds really spent their first year, getting to know each other. So in that case, you would not separate newlyweds at the table, but anyone who's been together, whether it's married or partner or whatever, more than a year, you would put them at different places at the table. Now, there's a whole hierarchy for who goes where. You can study that if you want to, but that was the main thing that I wanted to share. The host usually sits at the head of the table. The guest of honor would be to their right. And then if you arrive as a couple, if you're a, longer standing couple, you may be separated so that everyone can get to know each other. Hello, Kenny. Thank you so much for being here. Lauren says, I love it here. I'm so glad you love it here, my dear. I love teaching you all. What does Marie say? Hello. Most men I know insist on having full view of the door. And I've seen this as well. And you know what? I may have to ask my etiquette teacher. I meet with my etiquette teacher once a month. So if you all ever have questions, feel free to ask me and I'll get answers for you. But I have experienced that as well. As protection, men usually want to be with their back towards the wall so that they can see for safety reasons. And I understand that. In this example, we're assuming we're maybe at a banquet hall or something where you've been invited and safety is not a concern. So again, this is just the protocol, but um, I always recommend, you do what's best for you. Who do we have in the chat? You all please check out that dude named Dave. He has a YouTube channel, a reaction channel. I have a lot of fun over there. He's also part of the lead attorney community coming through to say salute. Thank you so much for being here. We have Jessie in the house. She says, hello, Miss Maggie. Hello, darling. Thank you for being here. Lauren says, this is so informative and you love Asian culture. Yes, I am also I'm still in the middle of it. I've completed this dining course that I'm sharing with you all. Danae says, do I have an etiquette course, femininity course? I'll announce it here. Not yet, but I'm gonna. I have finally decided that you all do care about this stuff. And I am going to put a course together. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I'm going to kind of culminate all of the things that I've been learning, all of the things that you all have complimented me on. I'm going to start with an outline of what I want to cover. And yes, I will put together a course for you. If there's anything that you think I should include, please let me know. For now, I do have a course, but it is my course on how I got monetized on YouTube in 4 months. You can preview that for free. The link is in the chat. And I also have a cookbook I have completed that. You all have been so supportive of me. So I do have a discount code for the cookbook. You have lifetime access and all of that. So deliverable number 3 will be an etiquette course. Hello, shaping. Anybody on Instagram, you can come over to Facebook and YouTube. All right. So etiquette course, femininity course is coming. Yes. Okay. Talking about protecting the family. Lisa says nice. Okay. So we were talking about seating, right? So let me move this stuff off of the screen so you all can see. Y'all, I'm in a hotel and I hear movement. Like I'm not used to having this, hearing all this stuff. But thank you, thank you, thank you, you all. Thank you for all of the support. I appreciate it so, so much. All right. So where were we? All right, so we'll just continue again on this one with the, full table. This is a little bit more formal, but basically what she's saying here again is that the host is going to have their back to the wall so they can see. And again, you can see here in the closed captions, this is a formal event, and this is the type of event where you may have place cards. And one thing I will say, hello, Narani, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. If you are invited to an event and the host has taken the time to do assigned seating, please sit where you are assigned. I know, I know, I know. So now we know that if you arrive as a couple, they may separate you because they want people to get to know each other. And if only the people huddle up that already know each other. Imagine if you're coming to, a family gathering or a work dinner or whatever, and you don't know anybody and everybody's already clicked up. You can imagine. Yes. So please, it is actually poor etiquette as a guest to sit where you want to sit. The host has a lot of pressure on them to try and make it a good experience for everyone. So try. And another thing I'll say, we have said this before, when you are invited to, a fancy or a formal, semi-formal dinner, it's not about the food and eating everything, even though y'all know we're team greedy. It's really about the conversation, getting to know the people, and having a good experience. So if you need to eat something before you go, have a little something before that you go. We've talked about this in other courses, but you never want to arrive so hungry or hangry that you're a bad guest. Okay, so keep that in mind. What does Luke Hazley say? I've noticed that there's a great need for real classroom training finishing schools here in the US. Y'all, I saw something tonight. I didn't want to say anything, but I'm going to say something. So I'm in Philadelphia. Who do we have here? None other than Brandon L. Jett. He says, hello, Maggie, or hi, Maggie. Just saying hello real quick before you get back to work. Yes, sir. I saw your comment. Brandon says, because I'm in Philadelphia for work, he said, Maggie better not come back with a bonnet and Uggs talking about city girls, we up. You don't ever have to worry about that with me. But I am in the suburbs, in the wealthy suburbs of Philadelphia. I work for a software company, so I work remote in Atlanta. But once a quarter, they like us to come together for these department meetings. That's why I'm in a hotel tonight. And so we worked during the day and then we went out for a team dinner, like at a brewery, which, has beer. I had a Moscow Mule, and they brought these appetizers out, sharing plates. So they brought nachos, chicken wings, spinach dip. Y'all know all this finger food. Okay, fine. How can I say this delicately? Technology people aren't always the most refined, and there was a man whom I did not know who took the plate of nachos, it was like a tray of nachos, and started eating from the shared plate and licking his fingers. When they served the nachos, they also served us with like little side plates and silverware. I walked right up to him. I slid the group nachos away from him, put in front of him a small plate with the little silverware and stood there. And the other people looked at me and said, "Thank you." So again, you just never know. Of course, when you're at home, you can do whatever you want. But here's a little tip. If you're doing communal style eating, you never eat from the serving dish. You take your portion onto your own plate and then you eat from that plate. All right? Oh, what does Brandon say? Good night, beautiful people. Make someone smile tonight. Yes, you made me smile, Brandon, just being here. Thank you. Christopher is shocked. I know. I was shocked too. And the mama in me was just like, oh no, we are not doing that. Yes, not only double dippers, but he was just helping himself. And do you know, he tried to crack a joke. It was not funny to me. When I pulled those nachos away from him, he was like, "Oh, I thought those were for me." Ha ha. Let me stop. Luke Casey says, "Heck no, I know, y'all." Luke Casey is laughing, y'all. I sure did. I sure did. I don't know, like my mom mode just gets activated whether you want it to or not. There's something wrong with me, but most of the time it's a good thing. I love taking care of people and cooking for y'all and make sure and everyone is well fed and all that. But I will get with you. I was like, "You are not gonna sit here licking and smacking your fingers on a tray of nachos." And yes, you know how they just keep bringing out more food, but I was like, "Greedy?" Sorry, I digress. Lisa says, "Nasty." Marie is nauseous. Lauren is laughing. Guess he learned. Oh, you gonna learn with me. Again, when you're home, do whatever you want. When you're with family, do whatever you want. But this is a work event. Someone has paid for our drinks. Someone has paid for these appetizers. We're mingling. They served it with plates and silverware. And I know there are some like Middle Eastern food or Ethiopian food. There is some Indian food where you are supposed to just reach in there and eat. This was nachos. No, sir, no, ma'am. Sorry, y'all. I just went off on a tangent. Yeah, he gonna learn today. He gonna learn today. Y'all want to see? I took a picture. Okay, let me stop. He knew better. Exactly, making jokes with me. I am not the one. Everybody was looking. See, that's the thing. I do what everybody's thinking anyway. Because why y'all gonna sit around there and let him do that? And then when I pull the tray away from him and snatch him out of it, y'all look at me and there y'all are like, "Thank you." Maybe because I'm old. Christopher is laughing. Lisa says, "I used to tell people this is not a meal." Yes, exactly. All right, let's get back to our etiquette and elegance training. Oh, y'all. All right. So we talked about the long table. You can see in the diagram here, the host will sit with your back to the wall so that you can see the door, okay? So you can keep everything on check. Hello, Ron Alexander. Excuse me. All right, and then we talked about couples may be separated and the reason why. And please sit where you are assigned and eat something if you must before you come so you can go with the flow. All right, so we already took a look at this. We're going to go over to the next module. All right, let's see. And happy Wednesday, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I love sharing this stuff with you all. All right, so you can see how she's filling out the table, like guest number 1, 2, 3. We don't have to worry about all of that. And then the circular tables again. If you sit at a like at a banquet, there's no hierarchy with the round tables, and some people prefer that. So just know that if you're seated at round tables, when you arrive as the guest, allow the host to sit you where they would like. It's just kind to ask first, where would you like for me to sit? Or there may be place cards. All right. So partners will be seated separately. hmm And we talked about the exception if you're newlywed or couples from the Middle East. All right, so let's go to the next module.
To separate couples. Now that you have arrived at the venue, it's time to take your seat. Where do you approach the chair from? This is a quite frequently asked question. You look at the back of the chair. You would be taking the seat from the right side of the chair. So this is the right side of the chair if I'm looking at the chair from the back. I approach it from the right side of the chair, but I take the seat from my left side. So you approach it from the right side, and now you're taking the seat from your left side. This is how you would do it.
All right, so I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna talk about what we saw there and then we'll continue because I know it's a lot. So you saw what she said. If you have a chair with a back, so imagine you're in a restaurant. If you arrive alone and you pull the chair out, you're going to enter from the right side. Do I always do this? No. So a lot of this is a refresher for me. Why? Well, if you're in formal dining settings, the wait staff is trained to bring the food to you from your left side and they clear it from the right side. So if you ever notice that when you go to a restaurant, they will serve you here from my left, and then when you're done eating, they will collect it from the right side, okay? So there's kind of that flow of the meal. So when you are entering on the right side, you're out of the way of someone bringing you your food. If you all have been into, restaurants and there's a lot of activity going on, sometimes it can get a little bit clumsy, but that's kind of the reason behind it. Hello, Vani. Thank you so much for being here. Lisa says, I love place cards. Yes, Lisa is our hostess with the mostest. All right, so the other thing, I'm going to rewind it so you all can see how she sat down. And this is very similar to how you want to sit down, ladies, when you're getting in and out of a car. If you notice when she entered, she sat down. And again, remember, no armrest. I don't think you would have armrests at a dinner table, but notice how she kind of gathered her skirt or gathered herself, and then you just use your leg muscles to sit down gently. And she sat down gently, and then she turned in the seat. Okay. So, not all of this like we do. These are things that you can do and practice at home. If you're going to be going to a formal event, you can try this at home. Pull out your own dining room chair. Try sitting down gracefully. Try getting up gracefully. This is something that I have to work on. All right. So I'll repeat it back. We'll continue and then I'll repeat it back. So notice how she got into the chair. The other thing is there was another part of the video where there was hey, Sinji, thank you for being here. The other part of the video, there was like a host who was pulling out the chair for her. So if someone pulls out the chair for you, ladies, if a gentleman pulls out the chair for you, same thing. You would enter from your left, but the right side of the chair, sit down gracefully, and then turn your legs. What does Condemnia say? Luke Casey, I turned down several invites to company outings. The introvert in me wasn't having it. Yes, y'all. When he was eating that nacho tray by himself, I wanted to thank you all for the hearts. What does Condemn say? It hurt my ability to network and get positive exposure. Yeah, you all, honestly, I'm here for work. It's once a quarter. We got to come shake hands and kiss babies. Honestly, I would prefer to go to the office. We already have breakfast in the office. They already feed us lunch in the office. I really don't want to go do dinner and drinks or appetizers and drinks, but yeah, you have to kind of show your face a little bit. I would have loved to come back to my hotel, maybe order room service or go to the restaurant and then come here. Sinji says, a beautiful Maggie. This is dime that continues to shine. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. But yeah, in professional settings, when you're networking, you just never know. So, but you can tell a lot about a person, the way they carry themselves in these environments. All right. So let's continue with the video and then we'll come back. But I just want to share with you all what I see and some of the things that I've learned. Okay. And anybody on IG, you know where to find us. Okay. So before I continue, notice how she's sitting down here. So you notice she's not sitting, hello, sizzling. Notice that she's not sitting down all the way in the back of the chair. So just like I showed you all, even here in my hotel room, this is something that I'll practice. Like if I wanted to, I could sit all the way back. Not good for my posture, and it kind of spreads you out. So this is something you can do. Just practice sitting towards the edge of the chair, put your feet flat on the ground, and look at yourself, mirror. Like I use these Zoom meetings and you'll notice me try to square my shoulders. I don't like to sit like this. I'll try to sit like this. For me, it's more slimming and it adds more structure because I'm a little bit rounder, working on it. All right. So she's not sitting all the way back in the chair. Notice her hand placement. And you may have caught this, you may have not caught this. She's wearing a dress. And when she went to sit down, what she did before sitting down is she gathered her dress. Okay. So she used her hands to kind of slide down her thighs to hold her dress. Like if I'm holding my thigh, hold your dress to your body so that you don't like, so you just have some control because sometimes it can kind of bunch up underneath you, but you hold your dress as you gently sit down and then you swivel around, then you can take your hands out. So again, some things that you can practice. What does Jesse say? If you enter to sit from the right side, how do you avoid colliding into the water if they're pouring water from the right side? Good question. Well, if they're actively coming, then they would probably wait for you to sit down as the guest. But this is what is recommended, and I believe it's for the flow of the meal. And ideally, when you're coming to like a formal dining, usually they wait for everyone to be seated and then they start to serve. Or if the water or tea is already poured, it might be there when you sit down. But yes, so just be mindful of that. But great question. All right, so let us continue. So we talked about sitting.
When you have finally taken the seat, these two phrases can help you sit straight. Number one is an English saying that goes, a mouse on your back and a cat on your lap, with on the front of the table. For most of my students, I tell them to visualize not a mouse but a kitten in order to leave a little bit more space between their back and the back of the chair. Because the further away you are from the back, the better it is and easier it is for you to keep a straight posture. To visualize a cat on a lap is much easier for ladies than men because we usually have a little clutch when invited for a formal dinner as it suits best our dress code, and would place that clutch on our lap and cover it with napkin, therefore naturally leaving some space between our body and the table. Regardless of the gender, leaving a space between yourself and the table is essential because you will be placing a napkin on your lap. Another way for you to visualize how to sit straight is to imagine a helium balloon on a string that runs along your spine and is pulling your head all the way up. For ladies and gentlemen, do not cross your legs under the table. Make sure to keep your feet straight and firmly pressed on the floor.
Okay, let's see if there's anything else.
This will help you to keep a straight posture and to balance your body.
Okay, so that was a lot.
From the
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we saw here. What does Marie say? When I am driving, I tend to lift my haunches against the back of the seat to keep my back straight. This position is less stressful on my lower back. Absolutely. Marie is one of our truckers in the community. And I know that's hard when driving. All right, so we talked about the posture, and then we talked about sitting inside the seat. Notice how she gathers her dress, her arms go down. All right, and then her hands are in her lap. So the thing that I wanted to look the posture. I'm sorry, y'all. I love this stuff. Let me just go back. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I did want to call out. Notice she's not sitting all the way back in the chair, and notice she's not belly up to the table. So I did want to call that one out. So we've talked about that, having some space behind your back. I don't know if it's in this course, but in another course, she did say here one of the reasons why you want to keep a little space between you and the table. You're going to take your napkin from your place setting. And like we said last time, you're not going to flap it in the air like a sheet. You're going to gently unfold it under the table and you put it on your lap. And the napkin should be folded with the crease towards you. The reason why is when you gently dab your mouth, you open the napkin and use the inside of the napkin to gently clean your mouth, and then you close it in your lap so that nobody is exposed to your food. So sitting with space in front and space behind. If you heard her say about your purse placement, we've talked about this in other um, streams. I know we all have these and we have all kinds of other things, but proper etiquette is that only things that are part of the dining experience belong on the table. So no purses on the table, no cameras on the table, no cell phones on the table. I'm guilty of it too. And of course, this is for formal. But what you would do, let's say this is your clutch, like she said, if you come in an evening gown or something more formal, the clutch would go in your lap when you sit down. And then when you open your napkin, the napkin goes over the clutch. So you keep it in your lap. Another reason why you wouldn't have your legs crossed. However, if you had a larger bag, a bag that's not a clutch, you would put this behind you in the seat. So I can feel it with my lower back. Hello, Rodriguez. Thank you for being here. I can feel the purse behind me in my lower back. Helps me to keep my posture straight, and I have space in front of the table. So I just wanted to call those two things out for you all so you notice them. But yes, and notice her posture. I mean, she's sitting perfectly, but of course she's an etiquette teacher. But this is something with practice that you will be able to control. All right. So we looked at that. Let's see if there's anything else. So she's got the place card. She's got the napkin on the table. Beautiful flowers, anything else I can think of. So we've talked about silverware, and the silverware is going to show you how many courses you can expect in the meal. We've talked about working from the outside in. We've talked about the different glassware. They will clear it as you go. One thing that did catch my eye, notice the flowers that are on the table over here. When it comes to setting the table for anyone who is a host, you want to be mindful of the height of your decorations. So this is a good height because it's not in her eye line. That way, if you're talking to someone, you don't have to look over and around. So if you are going to have table decorations, something low to the table, like a little candle or these flowers that you can easily look over to have the conversation, or if you're doing a tall vase, sometimes they do those tall vases, it needs to be above the eye line so people don't have to look around to see. All right, let's see if there's anything else, and we will move on to the next one.
Floor. This will help you to keep a straight posture and to balance your body on the chair. What should you do with your hands is one of the most essential questions that lots of people are asking. It's one that causes a lot of debate. In US, when not eating, when you are having a conversation or taking a break, make sure to place your hands on your lap underneath the table like this. When dining at a formal reception in Europe, make sure to keep your wrists at the table like this so that your hands are visible to the people at the table at all times, even when not eating. Has a historical context to it. Back in the days in history in Europe, when people would fight each other, oftentimes this would have at a dinner reception. When, let's say, an enemy would be invited over for dinner to make peaceful negotiations, they would arrive with weapons. Therefore, in order to hide the weapons, they would place their hands underneath the table. In order to make sure that you are not carrying a weapon, you'd be requested to place your hands on the table so they would be visible to people around you and they would know that you came unarmed for peaceful negotiations. The history has changed, circumstances have changed, but certain rules have not. Another greatly debated question is whether to place your elbows on a table or not. And
All right, so we'll pause there and just discuss this one because I thought it was fascinating. And for me, I love hearing the history of some of this. I thought, was it Wilbert or someone said, where do these rules even come from? Hello, Destiny. So I love the historical context, but a couple things there. So I've shared with you all, trying to sit at the edge of my seat so I can practice good posture. So I've shared with you all for myself, one of the things that I've had to work on. I am someone who talks with my hands, and it used to be a little bit all over the place. So again, I clasp my hands and I keep them together. That way, if I want to use my hands to make a point, I'm intentional about it. So I loved what she said about when you are in more of a formal dining, or even if it's not formal, if you're invited out on a date, if you're meeting the in-laws, if it's an interview, if it's a business meeting, remember, it's not just about the food. It's actually not at all about the food. It's really about the connection and the conversation. So you want to eat a little bit and you want to talk a little bit, right? Because a conversation should have the back and forth. So when you're not eating, and we've talked about this in other sessions, how you place your cutlery down and then you keep your hands kind of out of the way for a couple of reasons. And this is for the US. That way, you're a little bit more kept together, but also when we have done those dining reviews, I don't have any silverware in here, but you all remember, and I did talk to Pearl about this when when I did the cooking collab with her. You know how if you talk a lot with your hands and you got a knife and a fork in your hands and you're just pointing people and you're like, yeah, can you believe? And this and that. That's not what you want to do. So you always put your cutlery down and then you talk if you need to use your hands. You never want to gesture using your silverware. One, for safety reasons, knife and fork. You don't want to put somebody's eye out. And then two, for hygienic reasons. You know, what if there's a little bit of sauce on that fork and you're flicking it around? Okay, so we don't want to do that. The other thing that I found that was fascinating, however, in Europe, they always wanna see hands visible. So we're not gonna put our elbows up on the table, we talked about that. Nothing on the table that's not used for eating. The only time that it's okay to have your elbows on the table is after the meal is complete and the staff has cleared the table. If you wanna lean in and have a more intimate conversation, you can do that, but not while there is food on the table. But I do like the history of, showing that you are unarmed by having your hands visible at all times. So the way she showed it, you just kinda keep your wrists kind of close to the table, put your cutlery down, and keep your hands visible. So just, different cultures, have different things. You can always ask, you can always observe. That way you don't unintentionally, offend anyone. And what I've learned is that the salute is actually kind of the same historical context, right? When men or when service people would salute, it was basically to show I am unarmed because your weapon was in your right hand, and you're showing that you're unarmed. Same thing with the handshake. Weapons were in your right hand, and so when you're shaking hands, you're basically saying, "I come in peace." So, like I said, I could nerd out about this stuff, but I just love sharing it with you all. All right, so let us continue.
the truth is, it depends on which country you're in. In France, historically, women that were married were allowed to place their elbows on the table in order to show off their rings. But this was only acceptable when not eating. Today, the rule has become more flexible. Today, both married and single ladies can place their elbows on the table when dining casually. Also, you can place your elbows on the table when there is no food at the table. To answer a highly debated question, when you are dining with your friends and there is no food at the table, you can place your elbows. However, for formal dining etiquette, keep your elbows down.
All right, so you all heard it, and like I said, I'm not an expert, but the general gist of it is if you're with friends or in a casual environment, it is okay. Have your hands up on the table. Ideally, I would just try to practice to do it when there's no food there. But again, in formal environments or when you never know when people are watching. We've talked about that. Whenever you want to make an impression, for me, it's always best to err on the side of proper etiquette and then let people tell you to relax, as opposed to the man today who was eating the group nachos for himself and licking his fingers. And then Auntie Maggie comes through and corrects him in front of the crew. So yeah, so we talked about that hand placement. Was there anything else I wanted to share with you all? I think we'll continue on to the next module. Okay. I felt like there was something else I wanted to say. It'll come back. All right, let us continue.
Generally speaking, anything that doesn't make up part of the dining experience does not belong to the table. This includes your sunglasses, your phone. You'd place your phone on airplane mode or keep it silent and put it into your bag. And finally, your clutch does not belong on the table. You'd place your clutch on your lap and cover it with napkin. If you have a larger bag, there are three things you could do. You could ask for a bag holder that looks like this. Oftentimes, fancy venues will offer you one to hang your bag on it. You could also ask for a bag chair and place your bag on it and place it nearby. Or if the restaurant doesn't have a bag chair or a bag holder, you would then place your bag behind your back on the chair.
All right, so I see Christopher Williams over here laughing and saying he loves my teaching. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm not having that. I'm sorry. You're not eating out of the group nachos. I'm going to replay that one because there was a couple things that I want to share with you all. But I loved what she said about placement on the table. What does number 3 say? With friends and family, it's okay to be informal, but still have some table manners for yourself and others. Absolutely. My first time seeing you here, so thank you, number 3. And also, you all, this is something that, you don't have to be a robot, but when you do have the opportunity to practice some of these things, even when you don't have to, it becomes just kind of who you are. And I have erred on the side of a little bit more formal. Sometimes people may think different things about that, but I enjoy it. I would rather be a little bit too formal than be too familiar and then have people talk about me. All right, so I'm going to replay that and I want to show you all a couple of things. All right, so we're going to go back to that last session. Which one was it? This is kind of hard to see. Hand placement. Okay, placing your belongings. All right, so first, while I'm waiting for this to load up, notice this view. Let me see if I can. All right, I'm in the way. I love bag chair, really. I love it.
Generally speaking,
Okay, and let's see if I can move myself out of the way here. Okay, notice on the table, this is a beautiful table that is set up. Let me turn off the closed captioning. Beautiful stemware, beautiful flowers, beautiful place card, and china. And then she has come in and put all of her kit and caboodle on the table, her glasses, her cell phone, and her purse. We have probably all done it, but to me, the table just immediately looks cluttered and less nice. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. And then imagine 4 ladies come in and we all have our stuff all over the table. So these are the things that I didn't really pay attention to until I started studying. So just be mindful of that. You really want to have a nice dining experience. So try to get in the habit of only bringing what you have to have and then keeping it off of the table. What does number 3 say? I just discovered you from just Pearly Things. I think you're a breath of fresh air. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Happy to have found your channel. Well, welcome. We are doing an etiquette teaching tonight. I do have 3 channels, you all. Maggie, the substitute teacher, is my cooking channel. I'm traveling for work, so I'm not in the kitchen, but I do stream for you all every day. We were supposed to do Wednesdays with Maggie. Miss Aisha asked to postpone, so we'll do that next week. And then twice a month, my second channel, Teachable Moments with Maggie, my YouTube channel. I've been sharing with you all my etiquette and elegance journey. For those who are interested, I share with you here. That's what we're doing tonight. And then my third channel is the Wives Club. That is my relationship channel. We'll be streaming on Friday. You can find all 3 of them on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you so much. Okay, so where were we? All right, so we talked about having all the things on the table. Well, that's not a bad view, but I actually want you all to see what Jamila's talking about. All right, so just notice all of the things on the table. It already just looks cluttered, okay? So be mindful of that. Let me continue this with no sound. Hello, Simon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the hearts. Anybody on IG, you all can come over to Facebook and YouTube if you want to. So if you arrive with all of this stuff, I would advise that you have a purse or a bag that you can put it in. And I really like what she said about the phone. We have talked about this, and the men feel very strongly about this. So she says to put your phone on airplane mode or silence it. We've talked about phone etiquette when dining. Again, when you are dining with others, especially a little bit more formally, you want to give attention to the people that you are dining with. It's actually quite rude to your dining guests and the host. We have all seen people have these loud conversations on their phone. So, a reminder, just in case anyone does not know, make sure you handle your business before you arrive. Turn off or put your phone on silent and put it away. You do not want to have it on the table, and you don't want to be looking at it during the meal. If you absolutely must have your phone, the best thing to do is to inform your host or inform your dining companion. Let's say you had to get a sitter for the kids and there may be an emergency. So you may keep your phone with you, not on the table, but you may keep your phone with you. If your phone rings during the meal, you get up, you excuse yourself from the table, you leave and go handle the call, finish the call, and then come back and continue the meal. You do not make anyone at the table listen to or wait on you for your conversation. Okay. So ideally, you don't have any interruptions, but it's a huge faux pas. And we have had the men say, if a woman pulls out her phone on a date, it's a strike. And so just be mindful of that, especially if someone is paying for your meal, whether it's a work event. Today, I just had dinner and drinks. I had my phone. My guy was calling. He's like, I've been calling you. I was like, phone is in the bag. My boss's boss is making their rounds to talk to us. I flew in from Atlanta. So just be mindful. But that's what we learn here. Oh goodness, my first time seeing you here, Koi. I'm so excited to be a part of one of your streams. I too discovered you through Pearly. Thanks so much for your content. Something positive for a young wife like me. Oh. Well, first of all, welcome, sweetheart. I'm so happy that you are here. Um, I'm so glad that you all found me and you're finding value in what I do. A course is coming. We got Destiny on IG saying, Hi, Maggie. Should we go to culinary school? I would love to go to culinary school. Well, first of all, I've never been to culinary school. I'm not a proper chef. I'm just a mom and a home cooker. I say go to culinary school if you want to. I work in technology. I grew up with a mom who cooked, so I just kind of learned and then put my own spin on it. But if you want to go to culinary school, you can. It is an investment. There's going to be the classroom portion and then the in-person portion. If you're going to have a career that you want to be professional with credentials, but I think you can learn the basics and then put your spin on it. But if you can, and if you can afford it, go and go for me. That's a dream of mine one day. Marcus, what are you doing on my IG? Hello, my dear. Y'all, that's my oldest. We're talking about dining etiquette, son. All right, so let us continue. If you guys want to see the screen share, I'm on Facebook and YouTube, Maggie the Substitute Teacher. All right, so where were we? We talked about our things on the table. Let's continue on. So remember to turn your phone off and put it away. We talked about the clutch, and the clutch is that small bag. It goes in your lap when you sit down, and then you put the napkin over it. Let me just show you all. She did it really quickly. Notice the napkin is here on the table and it's folded beautifully. So again, when you sit down, the first thing that you do is you open the napkin and you put it in your lap. But if you notice here, oh, did I go past it? This bag thing is hilarious to me. Okay, she's talking about the bigger bags. So the clutch goes in your lap. So feet flat, your clutch goes in your lap, and then the napkin goes down. Notice the napkin placement. See how the seam here is the open part. So you would fold it in half. This is the crease, and then the seam is here. And again, we talked about the reason why it's close to you. I should have something here to demonstrate for you all. But the napkin is, open facing you. You just open up, dab, dab, and then you close it so your lipstick or any food is not exposed. Who do we have here? Kia G in the house. She says, "Hello, Maggie in class. Hello, my dear. I hope you all are well. I love these etiquette lessons. Sorry I'm tardy." Aw, you're never tardy. Y'all can come late. Y'all can leave early. Y'all can watch without listening. Y'all can listen without watching. I'm just glad that you're here. I appreciate you so, so much. All right, let's see if there was anything else in this lesson. All right, so clutch goes in your lap. Now, she talked about if you have a larger bag. So ideally, no large bags if you can avoid it. I have these bag holders. Maybe I haven't been to a fancy enough restaurant. Y'all know I'm a small town girl with big dreams. But apparently, at some restaurants, and let me know in the chat if you've ever had a bag holder offered to you. So it's kind of like a hook device that actually is weighted, and you put it on the table, and then in the crook of the hook, you would put your bag. Now, this would only work for a bag that has like a strap on it, right? Ideally, you have a small clutch, something that is, delicate that you can just put in your lap and put your napkin on it. But that's option number one. If you need to hang your bag by your side, and see it says fancy venues will offer you this. Clearly, I have not been to a fancy enough venue. That's okay. All right. But beautiful for her Chanel bag. Lovely. You can ask for a bag chair and place your bag on it. I have never in my life seen a bag chair. I would like to know. Has anybody ever seen or been to a restaurant where they have a separate chair for your bag? I'm gonna wait on this one. I wanna know. I'm getting tired of sitting on the edge, y'all, so I'm sitting back a little bit, but still not all the way. Has anybody ever had a bag chair? Now, y'all, this is what? This is a Kate Spade. Simple, a designer, but still simple. I don't really spend money like that. I know some people really like to have expensive purses, maybe as an investment. I don't. So I don't have any bag worthy of its own chair. I've never even heard of that. What does number 3 say? I've heard of the bag hook, but I think the bag chair is pushing it. Thank you for saying that. I thought it was just me. I'm trying, y'all, but I'm not that fancy. All right, so we talked about the bag hook and the bag chair. Let me know if anybody ever goes to one. So her Chanel bag has a seat, or you can put one behind you. All right, let's go on to the next lesson.
Back on the chair. If we're looking at the table, we should start with a tablecloth. As you can tell, this is a wide tablecloth made of material. The most classical form of table setup, the most formal dinner, will require a white, crisp, well-ironed tablecloth. The next important element of a formal setup would be flowers in a vase. The flower arrangement should be either below your eye level or above it, so that the view between the two people seated in front of each other is not obstructed. Another important element of a formal dinner table setup is unscented white candles. They usually should be lighted before the guests arrive at the table and after the sunset. Now, once we've seen the candles as well as the flower, let's look at the rest of what we have at the table. In front of me is a place card. Here I have my name written on it from both sides. From this side, the one that's facing the person that's seated in front of me, as well as the side from where I can see it. This helps me to see where I need to be seated, but it also helps the guest in front of me know my name so they can address me when having a dialogue.
All right, y'all. So let's take a moment here and just cover what she said. I love this section of the table setup. And so there are some things as a guest that you are responsible for when invited, and there are some things as a host that you are responsible for. What does Koi say? Koi says, sorry, I haven't. I've seen the bag hooks at some hotels. So nobody has seen a bag chair. So we are all in like company. Okay. So I've never seen a bag chair, but the hook I'm familiar with. All right. So now we're talking about the table, and she said the formal dining setting always has a well ironed, white, crisp, I'm saying linen tablecloth. Y'all, for me, there's nothing that says fine dining better than a white tablecloth. I know, I know, I know. And I have been to all kinds of places and some that serve me on styrofoam. However, it's just it just sets the tone. It just makes me feel a little bit fancier, but that is a trademark that you will see in, fine dining establishments. So I get very excited about the tablecloth and the linens. Stella, you love the name tags. Yes, I wanted to talk about that. Okay. So, she addressed the flowers. So we've already talked about that, flowers and candles. So let's talk about that really quickly. So if you're going to have flowers on the table as the host, again, make sure your arrangement is low enough so that your guests can easily look over it, or tall enough so that it's not obstructing. If you have one of those really tall vases and you have a beautiful arrangement, that's fine. But again, during the dinner, during the conversation, you want your guests to be able to see each other. The other thing she talked about was candles, and I do love fragrance. I've got one over there doing its thing. Yes, it's still flickering a little bit. Um, if you're going to use candles, you can use white, unscented candles. I love fragrance. Ask Marcus. I got fragrance all over the place. However, when you're serving a meal, you don't want the candle scent to overpower the food. Likewise with the flowers. If you're going to have a flower arrangement, you want to try and pick flowers that are mild or don't have a scent that could clash with the food. Sometimes people are allergic and they can't have strong smells, but if you're serving something delicate like fish or I don't know, make it up, you don't want to have this really like pine needly, scent. So just be mindful of that. Likewise with the candles. And like she said, you want to light them before your guests arrive. Oftentimes in a lot of restaurants now, you'll see the little tea light with the little battery powered candle. And I know it's not the same, but for safety reasons or for whatever, but if you are going to use candles, go unscented. Stella was talking about the name tags. That's the other thing that she mentioned here. So you saw the tent card with the name on it, and I didn't notice this. I didn't know that. It's a refresher for me too. I always thought that the name cards were so that you can find your seat and sit down where your host wants you to sit. In addition to that, what I just learned is that, or relearned, is that they are double sided so that you have your name card in front of you. Because if you're at a work meeting or something fancy, company Christmas dinner, I'm making it up. That way, the person who's sitting across from you, they have your name in front of you so that they can be part of the conversation. So, just some things to know and learn or relearn together. All right, let us continue.
The place card can be placed above the plate, so after dessert utensils, or it could be placed right on top of your plate on the napkin like this. Usually, when the dinner consists of 8 and more people, you will see place cards placed at the table. That way, making it easier for the host to indicate where you should be seated and therefore not to have to accompany every single guest to their seat. An important etiquette rule here is not to misplace the place cards. Do not change your seats. The place that you're assigned to, take the seat right there. Next, let's look at salt and pepper. They're always paired together. In an official visit, you would find one pair for 2 people or 2 to 4 people to be shared. If you're at someone's home, you can expect one set to be shared amongst 10 people or more. Next, what I have here in front of me is a napkin. Usually the material and the color of the napkin should be of the same kind as the tablecloth, especially on a formal dinner table. The napkin should be crisp white, well ironed, and it should just be placed in a very simple rectangular form like this. You might find it either on your plate. In France, you might find it on your left hand over here, and in UK, you might expect to see it on the right hand side like this. Either way, all of these versions are correct placements of the napkin. So here we have forks on our.
All right, so let's take a pause there and review because that was a lot. So we talked about the name cards, okay? And the other thing that she said that I loved about the name cards, especially if I believe it was like if you're hosting for 8 or more, sometimes you may be asked to throw a dinner party, right? So you can get a refresher. Um, if it's a small gathering, you might be able to escort people to their seat, or you may have a host that takes you to your seat. However, the place cards actually also allow people to seat themselves. And remember, we started off the proper way of sitting down at the table. And if everybody does that, then the flow of the movement is not disturbed. She talked about salt and pepper, and I have seen this in some fine dining. Salt and pepper are always together. They travel as a couple. So remember that if anyone asks for salt, you always pass the salt and pepper together. They stay together. You may have salt and pepper shared between 2 to 4 people. If it's a formal gathering, you have multiple salt and peppers on the table so they don't have to travel too far. But if you're at a home family meeting, it could be one salt and pepper for everything. So just be mindful of that. And I didn't know this. Well, a couple things. Some I did know. It is actually poor etiquette to season your food without tasting it. I know we like what we like, but it is a little bit of an insult to the chef. So at least try it. Take a bite. And then if you want salt, pepper, hot sauce, ketchup, any of that stuff, you would ask for it after. But if for someone to cook for you and put a plate in front of you and you just go in there and you're starting to do all this stuff, it's actually poor etiquette. All right. So just be mindful of that. And then with the condiments, salt, pepper, hot sauce, ketchup, you're not supposed to just sprinkle it all over your food, squeeze it all over your food. Just so you all know, the proper etiquette is you put a little dollop, excuse me, on your plate, all right? So you put a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper like on the corner of your plate, or you would put some hot sauce there, or just like you would scoop up the condiments and put some on your plate. Again, we never serve ourselves from the community pot or the community condiments. So relish, mayo, or whatever. Then, as you eat your food, you would dab it into the hot sauce or the salt or the pepper and then go from your plate to your mouth. Again, for very formal dining, but try not to season it without tasting it, and then, put what you're gonna serve yourself off of on your plate. Likewise with the butter, we talked about this for the bread basket in a previous episode. When you have bread basket, hello, D. Moores, you take your piece of bread onto your plate first. You never eat from the main container and just we don't do that. And it's actually poor etiquette to pull any food away from your mouth. That's why you want to try and cut it into a small enough piece that you can bring the fork to your mouth, take a bite, and then have a clean fork. With bread, the proper etiquette is to eat with your hands. So you would actually take your piece of bread onto your plate. You would tear off a bite-sized piece. Okay, we're not going to cut the bread. You're going to tear off the bread. So finger food, you do eat with your hands. And then the same thing that we said about The condiments, the butter dish, you would scoop some butter from the main container onto your plate. When you tear off the piece of bread that you can eat in one bite, tear that off, you butter it from your plate, and then you pop it in your mouth. I know it's a lot, but just a few things to keep in mind that you can practice if you want a little bit. Let us continue. All right. I think we covered everything. The napkin. Yeah, we talked about the napkin. So now we'll talk about the fork and the knife. And I think we'll wrap it up on this one. This one seems a little bit long, but let's see what she says about the cutlery.
Left hand side and knife and spoon on the right hand side. By looking just at what I have here at hand, I can guess what I'm expecting on the menu. So I have here a spoon. That is the first thing, the first meal that we will be eating. Because it's the one that is further away from the plate, I know I have something like a soup to enjoy at first. Next, we have different forms of cutlery. The forks are on our left hand side, the knife and spoon is on the right hand side. The only fork that would be placed on the right hand side is an oyster or a shrimp fork that will be placed either alone on the very end of the table or on top of the spoon. Next, let's look at how our cutlery is placed. You can tell that the forks are placed with the tines facing upward. This is a more standard way of setting the table, but in France you might see that the forks are placed with tines facing downwards. This is done for two reasons. Number one, for protection reasons, so that when you touch the table, you will not get hurt by touching the tines so they don't scratch your hand. Or another version of this story is that the French like to monogram their names and initials on the back of the fork. Therefore, they would place the forks facing downwards so that you could see the monogram initials on the fork.
I absolutely love that. That monogram piece, I love that. All right, so let's talk about this. I'm not going to make a big deal about the silverware. We've talked a little bit about this. Sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming, but when you have your plate and you have your glassware and you have your bread, you're going to have some silverware on the left-hand side. You're going to have some silverware on the right-hand side, and you may have some silverware at the top. Sorry. So basically, what I love about this is that it lets you know what you can expect in the meal. And you can go, down the rabbit hole. There's a different type of spoon that you would eat with soup. There's a different type of spoon that you would eat with dessert. There's a different type. There's all kinds of different cutlery. You want to start from the outside in. So your main dish will be eaten with the knife and the fork that's closest to the plate, but it kind of gives you an indication how many courses that meal is going to be. So if you arrive and you see there's a rounded spoon, you can know that they're going to serve you soup. And we've talked about the proper way to eat soup, right? How to scoop it away from you, and you need to tilt the bowl a little bit. Um, there are almost every dish you eat with a knife and a fork, and we don't cross hands. I had oh gosh, where was I? Was it in London? I think where I had dessert and it was served with a fork and a spoon instead of a knife and a spoon. And I had to ask the waiter, am I doing it right? I remembered my teaching. But there's so much that you can learn about this. If you are not, going to be enjoying that course, they will clear it for you, and then they will bring the silverware that you need. But you'll see if you're having a steak, they will serve you with a steak knife. Fork, you may get fish, you may get a fish fork, all kinds of different things. But just be mindful of that. All right, let us continue.
So as we discussed, the tines of the fork could be facing either upward or downward. That is different based on where you are, but with the knives, it's all standard all the time. The blades of the knives are always facing inwards towards the plate. This is done again for protection reasons so that you don't get hurt when you are picking something from the table or where you're seated down to reach something so that you don't cut your hand. All the cutlery that's placed next to the plate are the ones that we'll be using to eat the starter, salad, soup, main course, but everything above the plate is what we'll be using to eat the dessert. On our left hand side, I have a bread plate and a butter knife, and on my right hand side, I have the drink glasses. In the most official dinner reception, the fruit and dessert cutlery would not be placed above the plate. They would usually be brought in together with the dessert. Usually, you will not see more than 12 pieces of silverware per one person setting. If more is required, they'll be brought in together with the course.
All right, so let's just take a quick pause there. So again, with the silverware, what she said is sometimes the silverware will be placed when you sit down. Sometimes the silverware will be brought in with the food. So again, you can go, study what the different type of knife and forks are. The butter dish, and they all have a reason why they're shaped certain ways. But I do like what she said about the blades of the knife are always in, and when you're cutting and serving, you always wanna keep the blades and the sharp points towards you. You don't wanna have them out at other people. We talked about gesturing with, our cutlery. We've talked about the different glasses and, all of that as well. So let us continue and wrap this one up.
The way our cutlery would be aligned, there's a special trick for that. You could put your thumb up and index finger like this, and then measure the distance from the table to your cutlery, ensuring that you have exact same distance between the table and the cutlery. The other way to do it is by using your eye to just see that there's almost one line that could be drawn from the button of each cutlery up until the very last cutlery. In certain formal dinners, you might expect to see a service plate or a charger. That is a plate that's not supposed to be eaten on, it's just there to fill up the table. In France, the charger is oftenly used. In England, it's less rarely used. And in England, actually, there's an idea that it's the American invention. They wanted to not see their table empty, therefore, they opted to place a charger at the table. I don't know whether that's true or not, but the idea is that you don't fill up the table, and oftentimes you'll see it be removed after the first course is being served. To wrap up today's table decoding, let's look at what we'll have to eat today. Based on what I have here, I'll start with the right hand side with the first utensil here, and that is a spoon. So I have something of a soup kind to eat. Then we have a smaller fork and knife that is for the salad. Then we have a fork and a knife that looks very unique, very different to the typical knife. This is for the fish. So I have a fish course. And last, I have the main course fork and knife. After I'm finished with that, I have a dessert that's waiting for me because I can see I have a fork, a spoon, and a knife. I'll have some dessert to enjoy. But before everything else, I have a bread plate and butter knife. So I'll be served some bread and butter, and I have four different kind of glasses here. I have the water goblet, I have the white wine glass, the red wine glass, and a flute.
All right, everyone. I think we will stop there. We have covered quite a lot. I really hope this was helpful for you all. I know it's a lot, and this is not, again, about knowing every little thing and measuring your cutlery with your thumb. But I think there's some really good tips here if you're hosting. There's some really good tips here if you are a guest, and just so that you can avoid some faux pas or some missed steps when you're dining with the queen or going to the White House. But I think at least once in our lives we may found we may once or more we may find ourselves in a formal. That was right. I went to the across from Kensington Palace. You may find yourself or want to be in a more formal environment. So there are a lot of resources. I love sharing with you all what I've studied and what I've learned, how I've been on my journey. But there are free resources, there are paid resources, there's so much that's available to you. All right, so you're welcome, Christopher Williams. So we will continue this. I usually do teachable moments with Maggie every other Wednesday night. So if you all like this, I do have a YouTube channel. You can check it out, my previous episodes. I will stream tomorrow. However, it might be late. I'm still in the office for work, and then gonna have an outing, and then I actually have a consult tomorrow. So, I've been doing consults for a while. I haven't really advertised them, but several of you have, expressed an interest in picking my brain. So I do have half an hour and 1-hour consults. I've been meaning to raise my prices. I haven't done it yet. I think it's $50 for 30 minutes. But if you want to, talk to me one-on-one, you can book a session, you can request, and then I'll check my calendar and I'll get back with you, pretty much immediately. I don't have, I can make it work. So after my consult tomorrow, I will give you all another stream, and I don't know, what do you all want to talk about? I can talk to you about I went to a brewery tonight. If you want to see the Taco Bandit, the Nacho Bandit from tonight, we can talk about Philadelphia dining documentary. I can give you all more behind the scenes in London. I did have a very formal dinner, my 12-course tasting menu in London. I haven't shared that with you all yet. I haven't given you tours yet of my Boston Airbnb or my London Airbnb. So I do stream for you all every day. If anybody has a preference, let me know what you'd like to hear about, and we'll do it tomorrow evening, tomorrow Thursday, before I fly back Friday. Koi says, "Thanks so much. I hope you have a good night, Miss Maggie." Aw, thank you, sweetheart. Yes, I will. I am going to turn in because tomorrow we're gonna turn up. No, I'm kidding. The only turnips I know I cook with. But yeah, I'll be back in the office tomorrow. All right. So we talked about the course, we talked about the cookbook, we talked about consults. So you can check the description for any of that information. And yeah, I think we're good for tonight. So Instagram, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to dismiss. We have Naughty Flowers. I missed you. Naughty Flower says, "Better to know and not need it than to need the info and not have it." I couldn't agree more. And again, you all, if you ever find yourself in these situations and you don't know, it's okay to ask. When I was in London and they served me dinner with a fork and a spoon, I was panicking because I was like, what to do? What you do, you use the spoon in the right hand, like the knife, and you use the fork in the left hand, like properly, and you actually use the fork to pierce it, hold it still, and you scoop with the spoon and eat off the spoon. All right. So thank you so much, Naughty Flowers. I will see you all tomorrow. Whatever you'd like for me to cover, just let me know, and I'll be here again tomorrow evening. Instagram class is dismissed. All right. And Facebook and YouTube. Thank you all so much for being here. If there's anything you want me to cover, let me know, and I will see you tomorrow evening. Class is dismissed.